How's it going, everybody? Hola.
Hi.
No rush. I just hooked it up to Facebook just to see if there was going to be any problems. So we're actually live on Facebook.
Hi, Facebook.
How you doing? I love that video yesterday. Was it yesterday? You can just basically watch me wake up. That was funny.
I was like really slow. I don't know if you experienced that. Like you have to wake up on air, how you're really slow, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's exciting. Now I'm awake.
I used to do it in the studio. Do we have sound? No rush. Oh yeah. Yeah, I used to do it in the studio, in the original studio. I slept in the studio and I'd work all night and I'd be, partaking in my alchemic method, so, and, but I'd wake up and I'd be like, sleep in my, I have videos of that. I would just turn on the camera and just start basically, I don't know what you call it, channeling, right out of dream state. That was pretty rough. And then I'd look at the video and I'd see like flakes on my face and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, we'll just leave it. Right on. I'm excited. This is the only show we're going to do today. We had a great show with you last week. They always are. Your information is so dead on, like it's blunt in your face. It's no bullshit. And I told you before, it took me a while because of the way you communicate. Remind me of Morgan. Like y'all communicate in it's like a clinical, but it's not clinical. It's like this scientific clinical, but wide open heart, Kali goddess energy. I'm going to come in and rip your fucking balls off to show you how much I love you. It's like, all right, so we're getting started. 33 people in the house. Hello, Marilyn Biggers. We are going to contact you. I wanted you to know that. We talked about it, and it's all good. Elizabeth Rudwick, thank you for sharing something. I don't remember what it was, or I think you created something, but thank you for that. Mary Cooper, thank you for always showing up. And Mary Piroskowitz. Michael Van Patten's in the house. Mary Lynn Young from Missouri. Julie Gautier. Aline, my dear friend from Stavanger, Norway. Okay, let's see. John Montgomery, Cara DeBurka, Lisa Wilkins Perica, Maria Iverson, who's been coming on a lot from Sweden, Teresa LaPre Rivera, New York City, John Montgomery, Nancy Hodges, Neil Devaney, Amanda Lowe's, C.C. Franklin, Marilyn Young, Charlene Drake, Isabella Quiroz. I should know this because I'm Spanish. Quiroz. That's, I believe, Nathan's wife, if I'm not mistaken. Michelle Whitfield, Duncan Alexander, looking forward to getting together with you. Lawrence Wendell, looking forward to collaborating again in the future. Ann Scuglin, Vanessa David, Richard Simonite, Susan Lynch, Cheryl Richard Chuidity, Francis Mary Kuth Mary, and Raquel Timms, my dear friend from Canada, and Monique Hendry, my beloved sister. That's another no bullshit goddess right there. And Monica Peterson. Thank you, everybody. Please, these shows resonate. Please share. That's really been how this thing's worked. And also, thank you for all your love and support and contributions that allow us to keep doing what we're doing. Somehow we make it through another day, another month, and another broadcast. And this is that energy that we've all been chasing for so long. And the only way I know to expand it is to feed it and show gratitude for it. So having said all that, welcome back, Allison Engel. I love spending time with you. I love your information. I saw a post you put up, and I love the one with the little poop balls. It said something about "here comes the shit." that was on the 5th of May, because I watch your stuff now. But you had one come out, Scorpio, and I don't know all those terms and stuff, but Scorpio, and basically it looked kind of positive. Is that something that's coming? Like something about your
really,
plans and
interesting to like merge the current energies with the astrology. And it's just like I like to merge as many possible things as I can to analyze, like human design, astrology, just what's coming through, what I'm experiencing. And so I really just dissect the current energies according to like bandwidth. I'm really just like a open vessel, and then I just analyze everything. So it's really interesting to go from where we were on the show last week to now this Scorpio full moon energy, while Pluto's retrograde, and this intense masculine energy. But it's not necessarily masculine. It's merging of the new masculine matrix, this
mm,
merging of timelines, which is what Scorpio is all about, is merging with someone to become a united field, so a united whole. So it's like we're merging with the shadow masculine and the structure, similar to a matrix, the structure of our identity and the structure of our ego that we understand it to be up until this point. And so it's surfacing so we can dismantle it and then engage with it actually and empower it, because this ego has to ascend with us, but we have to take it beyond the facade.
yeah.
And so, but it remains a facade if we keep it dormant in the shadow and we can't connect with it. If it's just a pretense, right? And so we're really like transforming as we're unearthing into the depths of this masculine energy, and it's no joke.
That's badassery, man. I was eating breakfast this morning, just a while ago. I don't get stuff like you, Morgan. Like I don't. It's not my gig, but I got it. I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, I saw like the collective field, and it was. And it probably isn't going to sound right, but it was like masculine versus masculine. I could see it, and I think maybe what I was seeing is what you're talking about. It was like that new masculine versus the masculine, as I understand what you're saying, that will not be removed. It's just going to maybe take a back seat or transform or merge, and I don't know how that works, but
it's so interesting that you're saying masculine against masculine, because for me, what I felt was a polarization within the masculine energy. So it's like the masculine was in between a rock and a fucking hard place, and it just couldn't come out authentically. And so like it was like polarized, stuck in this field that it had nowhere to go to expand itself or to become enlightened, as we're switching heavily from the feminine into merging with what feels like a very 3D dense fear-based reality. But for those of us who don't experience fear anymore, it's really just intense. Like it's really just fucking intense. And it's just, and so if there's stuff, or if there's aspects of you that are still in the shadow that are regressed, shame-based, fearful, they're gonna be squeezed to pop out.
yeah.
And so more people are getting aggressive, more people are in fear, more people are experiencing anxiety, as we're really being called to anchor in these frequencies. But it's not safe here for many of our archetypes within the subconscious. It's not safe here.
Wow.
And there's other archetypes that are cloaking our masculine. So I'm continuing to see lots of people coming into this timeline convergence where the dark mother, or Lilith, is, because it's a very masculine energy. She's very strong, but she is cloaking our masculine because she's yang energy as well. And so we can't attune to Gaia because we can't attune to dark mother. So because she's chaotic and she's mysterious and she's dark, and this is an aspect of all of our mothers, that she wasn't really there for us, and we couldn't attune to her. We didn't know what the fuck was going to come out of this chick, So at any period of time, we didn't know what, we weren't safe because she wouldn't attune to us. We didn't know what she was going to do. We had to like try and figure out how to prioritize for her needs getting met so that we could be safe.
Yeah.
And so this is how psychology is so intertwined with this ascension process, because it's like these archetypes are really not allowing us to unearth our own density and our own physical format of like ownership and like being here and building our own structures, so that's where the ego facade, so the superiority complex of the ego, goes with a lot of different behavioral aspects that don't allow people to pursue because they're afraid. And so we're just really unraveling all these timelines.
Wow, this is powerful.
Real quick.
Yeah.
So,
I got a message from somebody I'd never, to my knowledge, I'd never spoken to. It was a gentleman, and there was out of all that chaos, we talked about some of it last week. He had a personal encounter with somebody who is out, who is out front, who is out there, which was actually a feminine. And this guy was very humble. He was very humble and honorable. He said, "This is what I'm seeing out there. I'm seeing this, what you're describing. I'm seeing this," but he said in his own words, "I'm seeing these people doing this, and it is that wounded masculine, that superior ego thing, right?" And in a very humble way, called the person out privately. Now, this is a man, the way I received it, this is a man who was tapping into his feminine, divine wisdom and love and understanding and compassion, and privately taking care of a matter with a woman who was in her wounded masculine. And I thought, wow, and he called it, identified it, and said, I'm just letting you know, I'm doing this, whatever. But wow, I was like, wow, that's powerful, that's a powerful thing. And I think that's similar to what you're talking, or that energy that you're talking about. Is when I saw the masculine versus masculine, that's why I said it wouldn't sound right. You used the word polarity, and it's almost like that. It's like the face-off, like they come in and they boom, like that.
That's how polarity works, and that's exactly what it is that polarization is the magnetic force that is the internal subconscious block. So that magnetic polarization doesn't allow you to infiltrate that fear. So that polarity that's basically the entirety of my book, is in essence the quantum physics that's in the subconscious. So when you're stuck in polarity, there's this, just like you're putting two magnets together, that's your subconscious block. That's a wound that doesn't let you transact with the energy of abundance, of moving forward. It's just like the opposites cannot attract. You just can't go there. So why do these people keep doing this thing to me? Because your subconscious is telling them to. Because how it actually works is what Einstein quoted as spooky action at a distance is entanglement theory. So your shadow actually comes through other people. I think I explained this last time, but your atoms are hypnotized by other shadows, and you're either aware enough of this or you're just fucking gone and unconscious to it. And so when things come up in relationship, it doesn't belong to you or them necessarily. You're dealing with a third thing, a third energy that does not belong to you. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't belong to them. So when you get into a trigger, you're like, here it is. And how do we together unravel this shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you probably did talk about it last week. I'm a little bit slow. But because I don't know, it's like to me it's more like energy, but like I get it, but I can't even verbalize it. And I'm a talker, but so what you're saying is, oh my God, this scientific thing, the atoms.
So good.
I love it though. I love it. It's actually helping me understand.
It's a quote I found of Jung that articulates my book and my work. He said, someday the formation of an archetype and nuclear physics will come together and converge. And I fucking melted. I'm just like,
wow, you had a soulgasm. He's probably one of your guys. But so what's happening is, and we're looking, and I'm not looking at this as in human behavior. I'm just saying I'm an energetic essence or whatever, composed of these atoms, and I'm actually attracting what I need, what I'm trying to face, what you were talking about, that yeah. And so we can start to really look at other people, love them, hate them, indifferent, I'm being extreme, but we can actually start to look at other people as mirrors in a whole different light. At least that's the way I'm looking at this. Usually we say, oh, well, Morgan's my mirror, and you look at the fluffy love and light stuff, and you learn to look at the other part of you too. But actually every person that comes across us during our day, be it a stranger or anything, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. We're showing ourselves this thing. It's helping me understand. I appreciate it that you've explained.
Yeah, and the beautiful part of it is just that it doesn't belong to any of us. These wounds and these shadows aspects, the way that they come into our being is the same way that they go out. And it doesn't belong to us. And so that's what these timelines are trying to clear, on so many fucking layers. It's just like how many eons do we walk around with this stuff? And like people who are unconscious or haven't gone into shadow work, are just walking around with this shit that is perpetuating the wound constantly, just constantly. And so if it shows up and you don't know how to deal with it, you're going to take ownership of the behavior, you're going to take ownership of the psychology, you're going to force other people to take ownership of their shit. And until we're really coming into this masculine now, ownership was not a requirement because we were so in the feminine and really just unraveling and allowing everything to go. And now it's like, boom, masculine. It's time to fucking do what we came here to do and
step up.
Yeah. Own your shit.
So when you say this isn't even ours, what you're talking about is, I do think you already explained it. I just want to get it reaffirmed. What you're talking about is that's not really our essence. That's an illusion, or that's a wound or something. It's really not ours to own anymore. Well, I guess we have to own that we have that. Mm-hmm. But is that what you're talking about? That it's not ours?
Yeah, but I still mean the collapsing of the paradigm or the timeline, right?
Okay.
Is you're familiar with the quantum physics double slit experiment, correct? How the observer affects the outcome.
Yes.
So if you have someone in 3D looking at your life for 35, 40 years of your life, and they're miscalculating everything that you're doing, you're storing that energy within your subconscious. It doesn't belong to you. It's not yours. So when you collapse that timeline, it just goes back from where it came. And it never belonged to you anyways.
That's like a microscope. That's like a microscope into I'm sure it's like looking at a lot of family, mother, father, brother. And so their perception, which then is projected as thought, energy, I absorb and store.
You literally imprint those energetics. So psychology is only a response, the mind trying to figure out the energy. The mind is just trying to translate the energy and understand what the dynamics are energetically. The mind is really just, it's not the motor,
Yeah.
it's a passenger. And so
Yeah.
it's trying to understand very complex things that it can't actually understand. And so it's
Wow.
so everything that happens to us is other people's perspective that we imprint quantum dynamically, and then the mind has to like respond to like store it properly or confront itself in other people's perspective. and and
Man,
so
that's
it's
I haven't
great.
I haven't read a book in years, but I am going to read your book. I promise you, I'm reading this fucking book, man. Because, but again, like I was talking to Morgan last night. We talk every night, and I was feeling so much alignment. And I'm not talking about this fluffy love and light stuff. I'm talking about science. I'm talking about what you talk about and what she talks about. It was an alignment, and I could actually see, and it's very similar with you, almost like a different language. I told her it was like code. Like she's coming from like this place of code. Now I've been with her almost 4 years. I come from this fervent, like preacher, like, like let's go, cheerleader, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
But it was like they were coming together, and I could like literally, like I'm listening to you now, so much clearer for me. And it's coming in, and it's like I'm hearing both languages at once. I'm understanding it in my language, and I'm hearing it in yours. It's fucking beautiful, man. I think this is this has got to be something that's catching on. I would think that I don't want to say depersonalization, but if you look at what you're describing, the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, all of these variable forces that came upon us, which we were also, if you just take the person out of it, and you just see it as the scientific part, the energy, it becomes so much easier. I can see why you guys, yeah,
Yeah.
it does, because it's like, fuck it, man. I mean, it's really the realm or the environment or the conditioning or the pattern or whatever you want to call it, the matrix that we existed in. And this is how what you're explaining in an impersonal way, where it takes the people out, takes the emotions out, and all that stuff. And it's helping me. It's got to be coming to the surface around the planet. I would think people like you, getting this information. You know,
Yeah.
Th-
So
there's
Mercury is conjunct Uranus. So that may be, and Venus is coming to conjunct Uranus as well. So that could be why you're understanding this very Aquarian energy at lightning speed. All of a sudden you're kind of seeing it much more clearly because we because Uranus is being activated really hardcore within the collective though too.
yeah.
So yeah.
There's a sister here has a question. I don't normally read a lot of them, but I look at them and I feel like if they're in the flow. But you're a mother. You're a mother, single mother, right?
Yep.
And you've got kids at the house. And for any of you who want to hear a story, you can go back a few shows back. All the shows are in chronological order on YouTube, as well as on Facebook in photos under albums and videos. But anyway, so Allison took in some major freaking downloads at warp speed, and it's a beautiful story. But she did it with kids in the house and normal, quote unquote, problems. But anyway, Deshanta Nichols has a question, and maybe you can speak to this. She says, how can we juggle our own awakening journey with, for instance, our children and spouses who don't understand? How can we keep the harmony without triggering them due to misunderstanding?
What do you mean triggering them due to misunderstanding? So a big part of the process is surrender and letting go, because there's so many layers of responsibility based in a 3D mindset that I'm responsible, I'm a caretaker. But the energy of parenting comes over the children, over top of their authenticity, over top of their journey, over top of them energetically that says that it's your job to help them process and understand reality when they are actually the awakeners. So like
Nah.
if you let go of the energy that comes over top of anyone else, and that's a big part of what we're coming into right now with Saturn and Pluto conjunct, is that either if you're dominating, then you're not authentic. You're trying to control and overpower people, instead of actually having clear authenticity and boundaries, and it's okay to make mistakes. Like, life is a fucking tragedy in itself, and so we really just have to let them unravel their own journey as we are unraveling ours. And so there's so many timelines that we're going through that aren't going to make sense. Mind is actually leaving. So just if you put your mind
Yeah.
in the fucking closet and just live your life and like
Throw
go
away the
on
keys.
without trying to figure it out, then you're gonna have a lot better of a time allowing them instead of trying to micromanage what they're coming into. You know, I'm feeling kind of like a truther movement energy from that, like not
Yes, that's
to trigger them, you know, due to fear or. But I don't think it's our job to awaken people either. I think it's our job to come and be authentic and allow and observe. And if they initiate something about it, you know, by all means talk about it. But if you're going into a dialogue with people and you think it's your job to try and awaken people, you're pushing and it's probably too soon for them, and you should just allow that dialogue to unravel too.
yeah, great explanation. It reminds me of and you're exactly right. People would wake up and still do. I got a message from a guy today. You know, he's like, I want to come on. I'm you know, I just woke up. I'm a brother in the Great White Brotherhood, and I'm this in past life, and I'm that. But they also, I did too, want to go tell everybody. You know, you wake up like, hey, I get it. You know, and I love what you're saying, because it's not on them. It's over here. And am I trying to control their reality or trying to reaffirm my own, which will get me past my fears? Not past my fears, but will keep my fears away from me, at least momentarily. I love that answer. Neil Devaney says here, individual and collective constructive interference required, vibrationally collapsing the current holographic paradigm matrix. At the same time, aligning with the higher vibrational holographic platform dimension timeline. New Earth, any insight would be appreciated, Allison.
It's a whole new field. And I really think that that's what this Scorpio full moon is all about. We're merging with a completely new field. It's merging with a completely new matrix, a complete new system, but it's within us. We are the new system. So it's this really heavy masculine energy that's within our own field, because there's so much going on astrologically. And I don't quite have a concept for it other than that yet. We're just merging at such a baseline frequency of 3D that this shit's gonna get real. Like, it's gonna get real, like real dense and in real time. Like, shit's gonna start popping off. And I don't have a concept for it, but as I do, because I'm constantly analyzing, you know, and checking in and seeing what's going on, and I don't have a concept for it yet. I will, I'm sure, because it comes as it comes. But it's really interesting, and it's really,
It is.
it's yeah.
It
Nothing
really is.
quite like it. Nothing quite. Have you seen the Schumann resonance?
Yeah.
It's
And
amazing.
and it's almost like the new norm, you know. I mean, I remember 2-3 years ago, you barely heard about it, And then it was a year where it was like the Schumann is usually it's X, and it had 5 times this year it went to X plus 30 or 40 or 50, and now it's like every other week, you know, it's popping off. But you're right too. You know what I'm noticing. You know, Zabetta da Vinci came. Our friend, our sister came for a visit yesterday, and so we went down to the town. I don't know. It was weird, man. The whole day was surreal. It was like you said about the mind. The mind's leaving, right? And it was like we pick her up. It was 11:11. I mean, all these things were going on. We're walking around the town, and it was like I don't want to say it was nonverbal, but it was like a nonverbal frequency of just. And when you said a second ago, it's all coming from us. You know, I get what you're saying. Like the code's coming through, and the other one being the mind's going away. You know, that it's going away, and it really is. But I guess, like you're saying, it's going to require. Well, everything's going to come to the surface, and the longer something is not brought up consciously or otherwise, the harder and louder it's going to come. Like you said, the pressure's just going to burst.
But the part about it is, though, that you can't know what it's not time to know yet. So until you're triggered and you're in it and it's full blown, it's not time to heal it yet, because you don't have conscious awareness. You can't see your triggers until you're in it. Yeah. So as soon as you're in a trigger, you're gone, you're in an archetype, and you have work to do. And that's the only part of owning your shit that you really need to take responsibility for, is that your shit has nothing to do with anybody but you.
That's right.
It has nothing to do with anybody else other than you. And so once you're in a trigger, if you're going to share that shit with other people, you know, it goes back to the common denominator that trauma begets trauma. And you're just putting that frequency out, and it really has nothing to do with anyone else. So
which takes us back to what you were saying so perfectly at the top of the show, which is, if we take that, spit it back out, as we have for all these centuries or whatever, we're actually affecting the person we're directing it to, and the loop continues. You know, they store that impression you have, and somehow it enters that narrative, and it's there, you know. So yeah, owning it, I get it. The owning it is being consciously prepared when the awareness comes in to accept the responsibility and make the transformation, which is probably going to be done in total solitude, I would imagine, unless you're working with somebody. Well, unless you're working with someone to walk you through it.
Right. Which is what I'm here for, because I analyzed everything on this walk. I was like, should I be writing this down? Like, I'm not gonna remember. I don't remember anything now, and like, you know, it comes when it's supposed to come. But so even when we're in an argument or in a complex situation, which is coming on more and more so now, it takes a lot of energy to try and come online to protect yourself from someone else's perspective. You're only protecting yourself from someone else's perspective, because that's the only danger that there actually is in the world, is that someone else's idea of you, you know, is superior to your own authenticity. And so
that's the old game.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of energy, and you can kind of tell, because it's like as you're healing more and more and more, you're just coming into a presence where your field is just like the equal sign. So any density that comes in, and you can feel, you know, when you don't have a lot of triggers left, that you're canceling that shit out. Like it has nowhere to go. There's nothing within your field that says, this is mine. I have to do something with this. This belongs to me, or, I'm supposed to react. So there's just no reaction. We're really
Yeah.
coming into bringing 0 points into each of our archetypes, clearing that equation out, which is polarity, which is an equation. So I explain this in my book really specifically. But so a mathematical equation, there's a really long complex problem on the top. There's the equal sign, and then there's a number, right? Usually the
Yeah.
number's really fucking simple. That's our emotion. But the complexities is what we think about, which is our protective mechanism to this wound. And so what we're here to do is bring in a 0 point energy, which is just the equal sign.
Yeah.
We are just here to be 0 pointed the fuck out on all layers of consciousness so that we can live out higher timelines. Because those densities have really nothing to do with, nothing to do with us, but they just keep getting popped out. And it's so beautiful that we're all dealing with the same shit all the time.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Man, the flow is just in the work I do. I see it happen show to show. And today, like with that show, with the question that Deshanta put out and then your answer, this whole chain reaction of flow of these people's comments, Terry Willett and Renata over in Greece. And it's like I'm visually looking at the manifestation of this energy as you're speaking it. And it's right there. Like you said, we're all doing this together. Do you get, I kind of get, and I've observed this really from Morgan, watching her for 3 or 4 years. Now it's starting to happen to me, or I'm starting to see it, I guess is what it is. And that is like the signals come in before the bombs drop. Like there's some kind of signals. There'll be like an impression, or like over here, 3 or 4 nights ago, we had, as we often do, an experience. Well, before it started, we're outside, and all of a sudden, every freaking cow on the island started howling, mooing, moaning, and it went on for like 20 minutes. It was going. We're like, we better go upstairs and check this out. And sure enough, the experience we had was related to this sound, this energy, this frequency. And they kept doing it even after we were through with our dimensional experience. But do you get like signs what's coming in? Or I guess that's what you're doing as you study the movement of the planetary objects and then apply the psychology and the archetypal stuff. That's what you're doing, basically. You're going looking for what the universe is telling us. Would that be a way to put it?
Yeah, I have to fucking know. I have to know. Like, that's just my soul's purpose. Is like, I have to know what's in there. I have to know the answer. I have to know. Like, I have to know the depths of, the psyche. I have to know the depths of the quantum field. I have to know. But it's so interesting that as I first journeyed into 5D, that I noticed that I've been analyzing like this all the time, right? My whole life, I've been analyzing because there's something in there. As soon as I got into 5D, my analysis, as soon as I analyzed the fuck out of what they were showing me, as soon as I got to the bottom of it, I shifted immediately. So like there's something in this need to analyze and understand what's going on, which would be, considered neurosis,
Right.
but it's not. And so I could see that like on lower timelines, it's just like, why am I spinning constantly? Like, what am I trying to figure out? Like, I needed to know. But as soon as I got into 5D, I shifted immediately. And so as soon as I figured it out, it would like open up like a wormhole or something. And like, I would just shift, the whole energy would shift. And I've been doing that ever since. And so it's still like my soul's need to understand all of it. Like, and so even if it's the current energy, it's like, okay, but something's always happening. And
Yeah.
so I need to understand it. I need to
You,
understand it.
you're
And
going to
it's
be like the 5D weatherman, like the,
yeah, gonna have a green screen.
right,
Yeah.
right. Our beautiful friend Renata from Greece, she's very connected like you. I don't know. I don't know what she's talking about. I think she says, "What is your human design, Allison? Are you a generator?"
Yeah. You can feel that too. Usually I can. I'm a generator. I have the investigative martyr profile. So that's a 1-3 profile. So like I have to know. And like I will die to know. Like I'm investigating so you got so I can share it with you guys, you know.
Yeah.
So I'll die inquisitively trying to figure everything out. And so that's really
How
what
many? I'm just curious. We don't need to go into it real deep, but I heard that term a couple times now, human design, and I'm sure somebody should probably explain it to me, but it takes me a while. What? How many uh, personalities or profiles are there in the human design? Is there a bunch of them, or just like 8 or 10 or 12 different? Or do you know?
I'm thinking, I don't know why I'm thinking 16 and
Okay.
then 32. But the aura types, there's only a manifester, a manifesting generator, a generator, a projector, and a reflector. So there's only 5 aura types. So
Wow.
that's just your aura mechanics, though. But just
Wow.
understanding that really gives you a lot of insight into why you are the way you are beyond any really outdated mainstream psychology. It just really, just understanding that piece helps you understand how you relate to the world. Um, and it's really more complex and troublesome for the some of the types. It's really hard. Um, so like projectors, a lot of them commit suicide because it's really hard because they don't understand that they don't make their own energy and they don't understand why they're an outcast and they just
She.
don't fit in. They don't understand why their basic human needs cannot get met the way everyone else's does. So they keep trying to do the same thing that everyone else is doing, but their needs just can't get met. And so it's just so important that the only thing we should be teaching our children is about themselves. That's it. That's all they fucking need to know is who they are, how they work, and any of the other information
Wow.
should come secondary to really helping our children understand themselves. Right? Human, know thyself, heal thyself,
Wow.
and so that's
Powerful.
all that we need to be teaching anyone first and foremost. All this fucking information that we're putting in kids' minds is bullshit. We're not going to remember fractions. Why does my 10-year-old, need to learn how to do fractions in 15 different ways? She's not going to remember it. Everyone has to study fractions when they go into college and do their predetermining tests. They have to restudy it because we don't remember this shit. We're not supposed to. It doesn't fucking matter. We're
Right.
not going to use it. But
This.
knowing yourself is so powerful. It's
Wow.
the only
That's a
thing that matters.
powerful. That's a powerful statement. A lot of people are asking now. Renata, by the way, I felt you were a generator! Exclamation point. Yes, haha. I'm a projector. 4/6. Morgan says, how can we find out our own? Joyce Mason says that Richard Rudd in the Gene Keys uses human design. Deshanta asks, how do I know what I am? And then Renata says human design changed her life. Really hard for me as a projector.
Yeah.
Duncan Alexander supplies https humandesignamerica.com chart. They're saying
My
it's the first.
daughter's a projector and it's so hard for her. And like mainstream society wants to tell her, that she's not smart or, that she because they don't generate their own energy, and so they suck in everyone else's energy. So as soon as she goes into a group of people, she's fucking instantly overwhelmed. She can't focus, and like this is a her problem, right? But it's not. And so it's just like, what am I supposed to do? Like, should she start talking about how she's a projector? Would that be helpful for people, for children to understand their type and their mechanics? And, you know, so it's really, we talked about Dionysus and like integrating our freak of nature, our freak flag, and letting our freak flag fly right now, and really integrating this masculine strength and power and honesty. And it's just, you know, how do we actually have to help, and you know, what lengths do we have to go to? And I think it's really interesting coming into our own power, and owning it. It's just so, there's so much energy of owning ownership right now.
Absolutely, yeah. So what you're saying is, and back to Todd's layman processing, but so what you're saying is that there is I hate to use this word, a limited number of profiles, and that it's important even for the adult. For me, it's important to understand what your profile is, because there's a different set of operating procedures for each one of them.
And we are all very, very different. Every single one of us is unique and individuated. None of us are the same. So even if you're a generator, you're going to have a different profile. You're going to have a different strategy. You're going to have a different authority. So once you, and this human design really in its essence that I didn't touch on last time we spoke, was that it's a fucking experiment is what we're in. We're in an experiment. So learning how to use your authority and your strategy is practice.
Wow.
So I think the issue with spirituality is the fear of the conditioning that we're supposed to be objective, first of all, but also perfect. And so if we let that idea go and we can experiment and see how it actually works within our strategy and our aura type and our mechanisms, and see how to align, and we can really feel that for ourselves, then, you know, and we actually all have a different diet, which I'm getting a session with a guy who does specifically human design diets based on all different.
Now you're talking about what we ingest.
Yeah, so it's different for everyone.
Thank you. I can eat hot dogs. I knew it. I just knew it. Wow, man. So they're asking again, where can I find these profilings? Renata put up another website, jovianarchive.com. Somebody else, Duncan Alexander put one up, humandesignamerica.com. Maybe I can coax Allison into going deeper with us one day on just that, because it's fascinating the hell out of me. And Neil Devaney made a great comment along the lines of what you were talking about. All the education is designed to keep a person's consciousness in their brain, i.e. locked in the matrix. And then your explanation now of this is actually an experiment, a training session, a method to cultivate our dominion, right? I mean, badass.
Yeah, but it's not even, so in 5D especially though, mind is not inside and it's not intellectual. Yeah. You're getting data and mind is really everywhere. And so like you start analyzing energy, you start analyzing thoughts, feelings, emotions beyond, you know, senses, and mind doesn't actually still live in the conceptual framework of reality. It flip-flops and goes everywhere. It goes everywhere. Yeah. And so it's non-linear, but it's also not in the framework of reality. It's like this, it can't mind can't understand reality. It can't even conceptualize the emotion
Yeah.
and the awe of reality. It
Man.
mind can't, there's no fucking words
Yeah.
for it. There's
Right.
no fucking words. And so when your jaw drops and it stays dropped for months at a time, your mind is like, there's no reason that I'm here anymore. There's just like, I'm of no fucking use because I have no language to give you that can explain this.
Right.
Yeah.
I think everybody can identify with that, especially these last few months from time to time. But the visuals that I'm getting today talking to you, like what you just went through, I can just see myself in the field and all that stuff just, you know, like I'm in this field of quote unquote reality, right? And all that stuff is out there and it's invisible and it's moving like warp fucking speed, all these different directions. But somehow or another, I'm attuning, and I'm seeing this as you're talking. I'm attuning, so this isn't conscious thought or explanation, and it slows down. It really doesn't slow down, but I can start seeing what it is, you know, and how it's linked to me, and how now I want to get to the point of creating things. I can pull out what I want, but somehow or another, knowing how to attune to it. This is fascinating. This is
And that's
really
what, and you, I think you're connecting with how extremely Aquarian I am. So now that Mercury and Venus are somewhat close to Uranus, like you are really connecting with Aquarius energy. So you're amazingly connected to what I am. It's just extremely Aquarian.
yeah.
But I think that's what I do for my clients as well. I take them through an activation series so they can then see what you're experiencing right now in this session. They start processing information at a 5D level where they can see how their subconscious is creating all this shit all of a sudden. And so it's really just a session is an activation to higher timelines, and it becomes easier and easier and easier to shift. You know, when we start, it's really hard.
Yeah.
But when you're shifting and it's not so personal to you and you're the observer, you're just watching the shift lay itself out for you. And then you can have an epiphany, and then it's like, oh, okay. And then you get really used to that just being, you know, your reality, where it's not like mind blowing and like destroying, you know, your life anymore. It just becomes part of the awakening process. Much, much easier though when you have access to higher timelines.
That's a good point too that you brought up about the whole, why am I even here? Who am I? It's like all that stuff starts coming in. And I think too, the depersonalization, that part of it kind of corresponds with it, which even makes it more, what the fuck am I doing here, man? You know, it's like it's almost, it's not, but it's almost like emotionless. But there's this higher love thing going on too, you know, which I don't know. But it's like you were saying, it's, well, you know, we had it, like Morgan and I, we had a long talk last night, but like we always do, but it was really cool. It was really intense. She was really kind of reflecting on her from her eyes, everything. And I realized I'm looking at this person who I've always understood as extremely intelligent up here at that clinical, scientific, I mean, fucking colossal like you are. And I was able to really see, although I'd heard it before and seen it a little bit, really see how difficult it was on the human aspect to do these things, to hold that space for others, to, you know, to be observing these things at that level, but still having to function. And I think that's really what we're all doing. What you're describing is we're in that space between human and whatever that is, you know. And it's like, don't forget about the human, because you got to go through the human. It's like the key in the door, you know. Wow.
And that's extremely Aquarian, because Uranus has a perspective. He's actually the creator of humanity. So he has a perspective from the sky as the observer.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand and doesn't emote like humans. He doesn't understand the human complexities, especially emotions. And so 0 point is not about necessarily, you know, sympathy, because 0 point is Aquarian energy. It's just a field.
Yeah.
And so you can feel everything people are feeling, right? So it's not emotionless. It's just that you know, you don't have triggers that force you into a fucking meltdown and you're gonna lose your shit. It's really just being on a standby observer.
With an equal
But
sign.
but people, if people break down in session with me, I'm their fucking mirror. I fucking lose it. Like, but I generally don't emote. So it's exactly what you're saying. It's very Aquarian.
Yeah.
It's just very Aquarian.
Man, you are, you know, you are a representation of a new understanding, a higher understanding and explanation, because, you know, that human part of us needs some level of explanation until we make this quantum.
Yeah.
Or whatever, I don't know, but we need.
Froze.
Huh? I froze.
You just froze a little bit. So
Yeah. Well, it's okay.
It's a leap. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I just want to point out a couple more comments. They said Todd have Allison on more. Morgan replied, she's on most Saturdays this month. 7-8 people like hearing that, and I just want to say thank you for what you're doing and for sharing with us, because it's really helpful. To me, it's really helpful, and I know I'm not the only one. It's a new language that you're kind of bridging, you and people like Morgan and other people. It's like a new code, new language. It's part etherical and it's part human grammar, and it's, I don't know, you know, but we need it. We need it. And I have a feeling we're going to be seeing a lot more women stepping up with their intel and their piece of the puzzle. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I look forward to seeing you again soon. Yeah, give your kids a hug.
Okay. I
Take
will.
care.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, don't forget to go visit Allison. You can contact her on her instant messenger unless something's changed. You good with that?
I'm going to have my website up and running this week. So
Okay. Well, keep me posted.
The quantum field of psychology.com.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. I'll see you.
Okay. Bye-bye.